on the air. Psst, Dave, we're on the air.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello.
I'm Dave Kleinschmidt.
I'm Jeff Hallett, and welcome.
We are the Two Half Squads. We have a podcast dedicated to the one and only greatest game in the world.
Advanced Squad Leader.
It's a netcast.
It's a netcast. It's a castanet. And we're happy you're here. So, more and more, I see so like podcasts everywhere. It's like my barber has a podcast. Every podcast.
Yeah. And they all have more listeners than we do, Jeff.
Yeah. You know, I go to the dog groomer and they'll say, "Do you listen to my dog grooming podcast?" No, I don't have time. Doing the best I can. It's amazing. So the fact that people still listen to this is quite gratifying.
Yes, indeed. We're still getting immediate downloads and new listeners, and it's all cool.
It's great. And, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, we wondered if we would get to episode 100, like, would we run out of things to talk about? And part of what's really been fueling the show for the past 2 years or so has been the constant output of new product, which is fantastic. Of course, so much more than we could ever play. But the fact that this stuff keeps coming out at this clip is amazing.
It is. And the fact that we've been able to line up all these interviews lately have just really put another element of perspective onto the show.
Yes. And we are helping to preserve the history of the game. Someday people are going to want to know, what is the history of that game?
Yeah, have you watched any good movies lately, Jeff? I think we were talking about that earlier. Did we?
Not a movie. I'm watching a show. Robin and I are watching Atlantic Crossing, which is on PBS. I think they're done with it. I think it's a short miniseries, like 6 episodes or something. And it is about World War II. And it is specifically about the Nazi invasion of Norway and the fleeing of the royalty, the royal family. So the prince and the king went to London, and the princess and the children made it to the United States and kind of struck up a friendship with FDR.
Oh, cool.
So it's well done. Actually, I think it's well done. I think the acting is good. They take some liberties with the story. There's some romance in there that we're pretty sure it didn't happen. And you, if you read about it, you know, the historians will kind of poo-poo the thing, and it says right at the beginning, based on true events.
Yeah.
Kind of an awkward thing. True events? Is based on false events? Would that be the other?
That's the rest of the fiction stories, yes.
I don't know. So, you know, they take liberties with things, but I think it's pretty well done. I don't really like the guy that plays FDR. It's Kyle MacLachlan, you know, who played in Blue Velvet. He played in Dune, the first Dune.
He's my uncle.
Yeah, he's not that good, though.
You should not insult my relatives.
I love your relatives, but he's not a good actor. No.
Wait, he's the guy from Blue Velvet?
Blue Velvet.
The young guy?
Yeah.
With across from Laura Dern?
Yeah.
I'd agree with you.
I think so. I mean,
I agree with you. Yeah.
He was also in...
he's low key.
What was that one about the weird town?
Kansas City? No, that's just a joke for our upcoming interview.
Series about a town.
Miami. That's a...
Yeah. I'll look it up while you're talking later. But so I say I would recommend it if you want to sit and watch something kind of or two-y with your wife, because they put some romance in there, so it's good for the chicks.
Excellent.
Yeah. But Kyle MacLachlan was in Twin Peaks.
Oh, not Blue Velvet?
He was in Blue Velvet too.
Okay.
Twin Peaks was the show he was in, the TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, he just seemed low key.
Yeah. But he did not play low key.
He's low energy.
Yeah. Low key is played by in the Thor movies. Oh, I can't remember. Proceed.
Well, I had seen Hamburger Hill, as we mentioned earlier. So
when did you watch that? Just the other night?
Yeah, Laura left, and as you know, I'm cleaning out everything. Yeah, the junk. And I thought reread it and then give it away or donate it, and then rewatch it and give it away or keep it if it's that meaningful. Oh, does it bring me joy?
Yeah.
And Hamburger Hill doesn't bring me joy like the other Apocalypse Now, the more artistic kind of odd films.
Yeah.
But it was good. Yeah, it's great. It's very good. The music by Philip Glass, and you had an opinion about it. In the opening, they're covering the wall with the names in Washington and images of the war, and the music from Philip Glass fit as they're scanning along the wall. You know, you know. And then at the end, I don't think they had any music in the middle. And at the end, charging up the hill for the final triumphant, they ran the Philip Glass music, and I didn't seem to work for me there.
Yeah, I'm not certain things he's written I think are okay. I can't remember offhand what other movies he's done, and I haven't seen Hamburger Hill in many years. But Philip Glass has also written a number of operas, which have been
I didn't know that.
Chicago. Yeah, Einstein on the Beach was one. Nixon in China. I'm pretty sure he did that. And then one that I really actually like that I have a recording of, I still have it on vinyl somewhere, is Akhenaten, which is obviously about the Egyptian king. That one's kind of cool. But he's known as a minimalist, so he'll take a theme and just kind of repeat it over and 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 over. And do I have to go on?
No. Yes, I do. Yes.
Oh, anyway, yeah.
Do you know where that really worked well was this film Koyaanisqatsi, and that's an art film. Koyaanisqatsi, meaning life out of balance, and I loved it. It's great art film with all his Philip Glass music, and it fits so perfectly because it's got like the sped up imagery and the slow down stuff, and it's like nature, and then it's like mankind, and then there's really fascinating views. Like I love just someone staring at the camera, the director, and behind them it's the rapid movement of the city, and they're just staring at you.
Yeah.
And it just draws you in, and it's very intimate. It's very I loved Koyaanisqatsi. Hard to find. I think they reissued it on DVD, but for that kind of film, Philip Glass works well. Yeah.
But so getting back to the movie, first of all, I have to ask you, because I'm not retired, but and Laura was probably at work. Do you feel a little guilty when you take some time off? Do you have this where you take the afternoon off and you're watching a movie?
Yes, just slightly.
Feel like you should be doing something.
Yep, just slightly.
Yeah.
But I can remind myself that, wait, I worked for 37 years.
Yeah, so plenty of stuff around the house. You just have a different schedule now.
Yep, still get dinner done. And now I'm painting for...
I'm covering for you a little bit in case Laura...
I am wearing pants.
You are wearing pants.
It's painting pants.
Yeah,
Thank
you for not getting dressed up for tonight's show.
I got my Kansas City ASL. Come on.
I'll give you that.
But I would wipe my hands when I'm painting on my pants. Drove my brother nuts. He said, Dave, people think you're a sloppy painter. You know, what are you doing? You carry a rag. And I have never been able to retrain myself. It's always, get that paint off of there. Yeah. Whoop, right on the clothing.
Oh.
I don't know. But in Hamburger Hill, Courtney Vance playing Doc. He was outstanding. I'll tell you that too. Yeah.
Courtney Vance. And I did not remember this, but Dylan McDermott played the lead in that.
Didn't like him. Just seemed too smooth looking or too.
Yeah, too good looking. I kind of get that. People tell me that all the time. Too good looking.
Jeff. Most of our listener mail is about that.
Yeah.
I don't watch you on YouTube
Yeah.
because Jeff's too good looking. He
Too
just
good
doesn't seem.
looking.
He doesn't seem naturally like an ASL player.
Yeah,
He's unbelievable.
I get that a lot. But overall, would you recommend Hamburger Hill as a war movie? Think
Yes.
that holds up pretty good. It was because it's 30 something years old now, 34 years old.
Yes, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. And what did you do with the DVD when you were done with it?
It goes to Goodwill now.
Okay. So, listeners, if you're in the area, Palatine, you can go to the Goodwill store and that'll be on the shelf.
Yep.
First come, first served.
Yep. Jeff, we have a contest we got to get to before we get to our special guest.
Yes.
Do you remember what it was?
It was for something good.
It was for something good. And people had to email us saying Mayday.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And it's for something. It's something from MMP. I'm going to look down there by the floor.
Okay.
It's a winter offensive bonus pack. I hope that's the right one down there. But anyway, we have, I hope they all live in the continental United States. Tim Stevens, Preston, Nate, and Doug Laird.
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
Are they in the top 5 out of the 500 entries we got?
Yeah. No, you know why it's that way. Everyone's got it.
They've got it.
Everyone's got everything.
Yeah.
Remember, we go online when people crash us in our gaming on Vassal and say, hey, yeah, would you be interested in this? We'll send it out. Oh, no, got it.
Yeah.
In the last Twitter contest, the guy that entered, he ended up, yeah, actually, I do have it.
Yeah.
But go ahead and give it to the second in line. And he was happy to get it.
Yeah. That's good.
So do you want to roll a dice? Do you have a 4-sided or
I do.
Digital?
I've got my real. I've got the dice right here. This is from our Star Wars RPG game.
Those won't work. Those have symbols on them.
They do. Wait a minute.
Are you going to roll a boost die or a...
Okay, wait a minute.
What are the despair symbol or a triumph? Or a success, right? Failure.
Okay, I've got a 4-sided. Here's a D&D. 4-sided. I can't see through this.
And you got to know how to read your triangle die. Yeah, not working for us.
Wait a minute. This show, boy, the production value just keeps going down. And you wouldn't think we could get any lower. Dave and I spend every day digging deeper. Let's see. Number 3.
Number 3. From the bottom up as I read them, Tim, Preston, Nate. You are the winner, Nate.
Congratulations, Nate.
Nate who? Let me look at him. He says here, he says, hello, Jeff and Dave. Oh, look at this. I recently found your podcast, and I am enjoying it very much. I'm somewhat of a noob. Even though I'm a noob, I have all the ASL stuff, so I don't really need this product. Just please give it to the second runner.
No, he didn't say that, did he?
No, he's a noob. I've only played about 30 scenarios in the last 18 months. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Thanks for your efforts. Keep up. Peoria, Illinois. I can take it to him. It's Nathan Gregg. I can take it to him personally.
You can ride your bike there, Dave.
No, Adam lives down there, remember? And Rich Spilkey's son. When am I going to Peoria next time? Nate, cool. Well, anyway, great. A newbie won. That's fantastic. I will email him now.
Congratulations, Nate. You're going to be excited.
I'll email him during our interview. Who do we have to interview today, Jeff?
We've got Paul Work.
Works, plural. Yes, there's two of them.
Yes. From the Kansas City ASL group. And we had a very interesting and nice conversation with Paul. We've never met Paul.
No.
It was very interesting talking to him. So
yeah, and if you were to order some of the great products of ASL, Jeff, what company would you order from?
Well, I would almost have a hard time deciding. I would think Bounding Fire Productions, Ritterkrieg.
Yep, indeed.
Or one of those.
And if you order from Ritterkrieg, you get still the free shipping if you order enough. But don't just go order the $2 Lunar Offensive pack.
Order lots of stuff.
Yeah. In fact, I had just put in an actual order and got the deluxe ASL.
Ooh.
Which I couldn't remember if I already had it, and I can't find it anywhere here in the basement. If I have an extra copy, Jeff, I'll be taking it over to your house. Okay. But yep, wanted to get that support, and we haven't covered that on the air yet either, huh? Deluxe ASL.
No, we haven't.
Crazy. Yeah, too much to do.
Yeah, I would really like to dig into that, take a look at that.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard because we get product, and I want to tear into it and look at it, but then I also want to hold back and open it on the show and be surprised at that time too. So hard.
Yeah. So tough. Paul Works will be telling us about a lot of things. And so let's go to the interview.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. That's right.
Who is that on our phone call, Jeff?
I think it's Paul Works.
It's Paul Works, everybody.
From Kansas.
Say hello, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hello.
I want to say hello to all your family. I'm sure all your family are gathered around the radio, even though this isn't radio. They're gathered around the radio waiting to hear you say words of wisdom. So send a shout out. So thanks for joining us tonight's show.
What do you want me to start talking about?
Well, we usually, when we start with the first time we've interviewed somebody, we'd like to get a little history of their gaming background and find out how they got into this hobby and how they got to where we are today.
Okay. Well, I'll start way back. It's starting to be a long time ago. When I was about 10 years old. I had these, maybe a lot of people had these little green army men guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I created this game, 6-sided die, using different weapons and different probability kills, basically. I didn't know what those were at the time. But I used these soldiers, and I used like a yardstick to calculate the ranges. And so it was a long time ago, about when I was 10 years old. And then when I was 12, my cousin and I created a little ship game using coins. And we'd flip coins to see if a hit or a miss. And back in those days, we had no idea. We didn't know anything about war games. But then when I got to be 13, this magazine called Boy's Life that was part of Scouts and Webelos. And there was an ad in there for these Avalon Hill games. And they looked totally awesome. So my dad, Mom, for Christmas ordered Tactics 2 and Panzer Blitz for me. And it sounds ridiculous at the time, but at that point, Panzer Blitz was like ultra complicated. Now I kind of laugh about that, but anyway, so then of course the Avalon Hill guys got my name, and so they sent me ads for the General, and so I subscribed to the General, and then Lou Zoki got my name from them and sent me ads, and then I found some players that used to be on the back page of the General. There were like players wanted things.
Yeah.
And so I found gamers, Avalon Hill gamers, and SPI gamers. And then through the Lou Zoki stuff, I got into D&D. And then after that, it wasn't until after I got out of college that I got into Advanced Squad Leader. I did buy Squad Leader when I was in high school, but I couldn't get anybody to play it with me. My little, even littler town that I grew up in, like 1,200 people.
Wow.
Wow. But anyway, so that's how I kind of got into the gamer, the gaming group, and then through high school and college, we did lots of Dungeons and Dragons. That was the thing with my little cliques, and we did do Starfleet battles and things like that. But at the time, when Advanced Squadron came out, it was still just slightly too expensive for me. I was in college.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I got a job and made some money that I got into it. And then at some point out there, I got a job out in California working for the Navy, and not as a uniform guy, but a civilian. And the group of guys that I were with, there was a couple guys there that I played Advanced Squad Leader with. And at that point, I made this decision. Well, either I got to do Starfleet battles or Squad Leader, and I think I chose the right one. Although Starfleet's still pretty fun.
Is that still play?
So, yeah, they still produce stuff, so somebody must be buying it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't see anybody at game stores or anything playing it, but I suppose people do.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
You are? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then my job, I'll tell you a little bit about my job before we go on to the next.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my job, so I started in 87 working for the Navy, got hired on as a physicist out there. And then they always do, whenever you get hired in the government, a lot of times you do these intern rotations. Well, one of the places that I interned in was this place called WEPTAC. And WEPTAC was a division out there that did air-to-air wargaming. And so they had this big simulation, man-in-the-loop wargaming. And if you can kind of if you think of that lady in Top Gun, the instructor.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't. In some ways, I was like her, and in other ways, I wasn't. But so that's the kind of stuff I did. We did air-to-air tactics with Top Gun guys and aggressor squadron guys and weapon systems development, air-to-air and air-to-ground. And so I did that for about years. So that kind of war gaming. And then I got hired on by the Army back here at Fort Leavenworth at a place called the TRADOC Analysis Center at Fort Leavenworth, and they do they do wargaming too. So what they do for the Army, they're the big operations research group for the Army, and they look at division and below weapons systems, operations, reorganization. And so we look at things, I don't know, 15, 20 years out and try to make sure our guys can, as Patton said, rather have the poor bastard die for his country than our troops die for ours, that kind of thing. So that's what I do now. And we do wargaming here. And I've been doing wargaming at work for, I don't know, nearly 30 years too. So it was pretty. So that's
what is
anyway.
It exactly? It's describe what the wargaming is. It's not boards and stacks of rule books.
Well, yeah. So we have these big simulations. There are several. We have several different types of simulations. One of them that we have a corps and division brigade level simulation. When I say that, that means that like the resolution units are brigades, like you think of them counters, but this is computerized simulation, non-man in the. And then we have a brigade and below one that is all the way down to the entity level, like individual rounds and tanks and soldiers and whatnot. And then we do have a man-in-the-loop version called One SAF. And then, so what we do is that we get these big study questions that come in from the Army that says, something like, hey, we need to buy a new, let's say, helicopter. We think we need to buy a new helicopter because the threat in 15 years is going to outperform us. So then there's a program office that is associated with that helicopter upgrade, and they have all these alternatives, and we examine those alternatives through a series of analyses. Some of the wargaming is done. So there's an initial, what we call a map exercise, and that exercise is done we leverage a pre-built scenario, a classified scenario from the future against some threat in some area of operations. And then we examine these alternatives in that environment against that threat. And we do all sorts of analyses. We don't just use wargaming, but we do seminar games, we do these map exercises, and then we do have man in the loop war games, turn-based war games that we run as well. And so there's a wide swath of different types we run here, depending on the question and depending on really wargaming for the Department of Defense and analysis. You only do a war game if something is kind of unknown. If you know everything, you might as well put it in a simulation to just run it 500 times.
Oh, okay.
Statistical measures. But if you don't understand something, like if you don't know how soldiers would use a weapon, or you don't know a combination of 20 different effects, then you play a war game to examine those player decisions, and you think about how that you build kind of a narrative that goes along with the number crunching stuff we do as well.
Cool.
So
that's amazing. So do you ever think that
that's a pretty fun job?
You spend 50 hours a week probably doing wargaming at work, and then you wargame on the weekends?
Wargame on the weekends, and sometimes at night on the weekdays. If we can get squad. For the past 2 weeks, it's been Wednesdays and Thursday nights. I've been squad leadering some people.
Excellent. And you're still working now?
Yes,
right?
For a few more years. Yep. Mm-hmm. A few more years.
Who are you currently gaming with on the evenings?
Well, the guys I game with now are a group. There's a Kansas City ASL club or group. Yeah. And we probably have 40 people on the mailing list, but we try to get together once a month. Dan Best is the do you know him, Dan Best?
Not personally, but yes.
Yeah. So Dan Best and I and a guy named Dave Moreski, we're the kind of ringleaders of the Kansas City ASL club, and every month we get, I don't know, 6 to 10 people, 12 people that show up, and then individuals hook up in between those dates, and so it's the Kansas City ASL group, and then I go to tournaments once in a while too, and then very seldomly do I do Vassal. I've done it for tournaments, but I'm not like some of the guys that do lots of Vassal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You have a good group there that's close by. You have to travel far from where you live to game with
30 minutes. No, it's 30 minutes. That Dave Moreski is actually the overseer or the manager of this place called the Hollis Renewal Center. It's kind of like it's a retreat camp, and there's a couple buildings there that we use that aren't being used by campers, and so we just use those. It's about 30 minutes away.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And something about the Hollis pack. I think we received that from you guys. Yeah.
That's right. That's named after that camp. That's right.
Okay.
Yep. The little custom map in there is actually a map of the buildings.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's the group I game with squad leader. And then I go to, so we've got the people that show up there. There's, I told you there's 6 to 12 people that show up, and then I do go to tournaments if I can swing it. This year we're going to the Texas tournament done by Rick Reinish.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then the St. Louis one with Jim Burris and Doug Kirk and Jeff Ital and Wes Vaughn and those guys. And then we run a tournament every March. So last year we didn't do it because of COVID, and this year was
Right.
kind of half Vassal, half in person. And then next year we'll just go back to in person. But we get anywhere from 20 some to 36 people that show up for March, what's called March Madness during the NCAA time frame.
So how'd that work out this year?
Well, it worked out okay. We had a handful of people that showed up in person, and then the rest of them were all Vassal. But it turned out when you got to the final games that you had to do it on Vassal. So because some of the people that were in the finals weren't locals.
Yeah.
So it worked fine. I think we didn't have as many because of the way the timing worked out for us. And the Chicago Open because they spread it over multiple weekends.
Right.
We ended up overlapping, and it kind of anyway, it didn't work as slick as normal. So we had about 20 people, and anyway, but some from overseas, which was interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's a long way to go. So is there, if somebody were to travel from overseas, is there anything else to see while they're
in Kansas City?
I haven't been to
Well,
Kansas
there's the
City
National World War I Museum.
Yeah, they have the World War I Museum. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and it is if you ever have a chance, it is really good.
Yeah,
it is one of the best museums and I've been to a lot of them, and it's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, they've done a good job. And let's see what else. There's barbecue. There's a couple other. I mean, there's the go to a Royals game, I guess. If you're a football fan, and if you like the Chiefs, you can go to a Chiefs game or something.
Yeah.
And there's always at Fort Leavenworth they have a museum. It's pretty good. And then out at Fort Riley, which is about 2 hours away, they have some nice museums. So there's some stuff around. It's not like Chicago or LA or New York, but
it's still a pretty big city with good restaurants also and barbecue.
Oh yeah, right, barbecue, right, yep. And there's the surrounding area. I think it's close to 2 million, 1 million in the main metropolitan area. So it's anything that you want you can get here. I mean, any kind of restaurant and stuff.
Including,
sushi, I guess.
Any illegal things too?
Illegal? Oh no!
No, I'm just
Missouri,
kidding.
on the Missouri side, yes, the Missouri side they have medical, CBD, and all that stuff.
Also, Paul, we interviewed Mike Reed, and so now Mike Reed was instrumental in the early days. He talked about that with us. Were you around the March Madness tournaments then too?
Right. So early on, when I started playing ASL out in LA, out in California, I was near LA, and they had these 3, I forget the names of the conventions every year. They were gaming conventions down by the airport, and they would have one of the events they would have would be a advanced squad leader tournament. Well, that's where I met Mike Reed and Steve Brasure and Mark Newcomb and a whole bunch of guys that I still am friends with. And so I met those guys out there. And then Mike moved back to Kansas City. And then it was just by happenstance that I got a job back here too. And so I would go to a few of the early March Madness tournaments when he and Mark Newcomb were running them back in Time on Target days.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they have one of my scenarios, or a couple of them are in their Time on Target packs. And then when I moved back here, there was a hiatus when Mark decided he didn't want to do ASL anymore, Mark Newcomb. And then a couple of years, and then Mike Reed and I started March Madness back up. And so then we would produce scenarios for those, and one of those scenarios, I forget which year it was, 94, 92, something like that. But that year we did the double blind scenarios where we did DMB and Pew, and we brought in the players, and all the tournament players, they were either the Viet Minh, Viet Cong, or the French, and we would give them. We would take the French players into their own room, brief them an army op board about here's your objectives, here's your forces, here's what you think the enemy is, and then we do the same thing with the Viet Cong guys, and then they would come in and they wouldn't know what the other guy had, and they wouldn't know the other guy's objectives.
Double blind.
Double blind, right. And so everything was either, there was a lot of hit, there was a lot of concealments, and that was a big hit for us, that DMV and Pew thing. And so then we did a number of other packs during that. We tried to do a pack every March Madness, Mike and I did. And we did that for 3-4 years or so. And then Mike had to move to Chicago, or nearby Chicago. And so there was another hiatus. And then Dan Best and I decided to restart March Madness. And that was back in 2007, 2006, 2007. And ever since then, it's been Dan Best and I, and then now Dave Moreski doing March Madness every year. So we've been doing it, 15 years now. And we do a pack every year. The first pack we did was the Pusan Perimeter pack, Poo Pack. It was some Korean War ASL. And so I was part of, so before Mike left, Ken Katz and I, well, let me take a step back. Mike and Mark Newcomb had done some Korean War research, and they had proposed a Korean War pack to MMP, but they couldn't get the sale done. They couldn't agree on, I don't know what it was. I have no idea what it was, but they couldn't agree on it. And so that kind of fell through. Then when Mike took off, or when Mark Newcomb took off, Mike, a couple of years later, Mike proposed to Ken Katz, who was another big ASLer here in town.
Yeah, we did interview.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Ken also about the Korean final product. Yeah.
Right.
So Ken Katz, I, and Mike came up, decided to reinitialize it. And so we started the whole thing again. And then we started the app, and we pulled in as many people as we could into the Yahoo group. And then as things kind of fleshed out and played out, we had a lot of kind of peripheral participants, and I mean a lot of people from overseas and Canada and across the United States, Australia and Britain and France, and then we had a core group of people. Andy Hershey joined us. You may Andy, and then Allen joined us as well. So there was a group of that were the owners or copyright guy on the Korean War project, and so the other guys allowed version for our Pusan Perimeter pack, and that was pretty popular. The first few years we did a limited run of our modules. I don't know why we did that. Money, I guess. We couldn't afford to do more.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah. So anyway, so we did those, and that I really loved. It's not really popular. Was the movie pack, where we picked 8 different movies, World War II movies. So we have Kelly's Hero,
right?
Hawaii, and the whole 30 dozen. And anyway, that was kind of a fun one. But yeah, so then the Korean War, and if you've talked to Mike and Ken, you know a lot about it. So we started that way back in, I don't know, 2002. And then we did rules development. So I took on the job of being the rules compiler, and Pete was the art guy, and the other guys produced research and rules ads and I would compile them. And then in 2010 is when we initially submitted it to MMP, and then a few years later we finally got the agreement with them, and then they did their thing for Forgotten War. And so that was pretty fun. That was a fun deal, even though it took a long time. It was fun.
Yeah, and you've designed lots of scenarios also then for the packs.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, every scenario pack. Well, except for a couple packs of the 15 or 20 we put out. I've done several scenarios in each one of those. And so the Pusan Perimeter pack, Tom Meyer and I did all of those. And then the other packs, it's been a combination of different people. And then in our club here, we give them incentives if they want to design a scenario. So they design a scenario, then we kind of wear them out sometimes with play testing. But we get it play tested, and then I double check I go back and double check the historical text and the units. It used to be I didn't care so much about that, but now I guess as I got older, I'm a little bit more anal. So I go check the units and make sure they were there and all that. So anyway, So I've done a lot of scenarios for the packs. Yep.
Have you had scenarios published in other publications also, or?
Well, so Time on Target, and then a lot of the, like 3 or 4 of the scenarios in the Forgotten were mine, and then there's some more in the queue that haven't got published yet for the MMP guys.
How do you do your scenario design? How does that? Do you have a certain process that you follow? Like, do you just decide you're going to design a scenario, or do you keep a list of interesting actions that you think you might make a good scenario, and then you pick one? And I mean, how do you decide what?
Right. So that's a good question. That's a great question. So what I do is it comes at several different ways. Normally, the scenario ideas come from is from some or magazine. A really good one, crazy enough, is the World War II magazine that the guys they publish, and I pulled out a lot of scenario ideas out of that. They mention some engagement, and I'll go look it up. Or an example is they may have let's say they have the U.S. Army landing in Luzon Island in the Philippines, and they may describe a whole bunch of the little campaign. Well, I'll pick a little engagement that sounds interesting, and then that they only have like is on. I'll go dig into it. So so then what I'll do is then I'll go dig around on the internet, or it turns out that one of the best military history libraries is right here at the Command General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth. So I go over there, and they even have the closed archives that they haven't scanned stuff on up on the 3rd floor of the library. So I've been up there multiple times and found books that I never would have been able to find. They haven't been scanned anywhere, or I've never been able to find anywhere else.
Wow.
And I pulled tons of sources, tons of descriptions. What I like to do is I like to get as many sources as I can find. So preferably 2, 3, maybe 4 sources if I can find them. Now, some of the original source from the same place, so it's kind of that doesn't help. But if I can find something like a Korean War one, if I can find something that the ROC guys wrote, the Republic of Korea guys wrote, and that they have histories of the Korean War, and I can find something that the American guys wrote about same engagement, that is really good.
Yeah.
And then if I hopefully, then I can, for the Korean War, we had some people that could read Chinese or give us some Chinese source. I could find the actual Chinese or Korean source units that were there.
Yeah.
But the U.S. Army intel, which all those are declassified now, but a lot of the intel reports, they'll know what Chinese units they were engaging because they interrogated people they'd capture some and they find out what units they were with and whatnot. But for the Germans and the Russians, you can not easily, it'll take a little digging, but you can find sources from both sides. And it's interesting to see what they compare their narratives about what happened.
Are they often similar, or are they?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of times they are. There may be, like the Germans may have thought the Russian units were slightly different positions, and the Russians may, they may not have recorded what units were there actually, but they record not their own units, but they may say like, oh, the 27th Tank Army was there. Well, okay, we don't know what division it was or what, and so the Germans will have a lot of that. But yeah, so and then one book may, or one source may have a map, one source may not, and so it's I just double tap them till I get to a reasonable state. So then I just create I get a little hint of an engagement, and then I start researching it. So that's how I build the scenarios.
Yeah, and then and do you follow? How did you learn to design scenarios? Did you use Mark Pitkavich's book, or did you write your own book on how to do scenarios, figuratively, maybe?
Well, so I didn't have his. Well, right. So I've got his book, and I've used ideas out of it, certainly, and that was I think he did a good job with that.
Yeah.
I didn't have it when I first started. When we first started doing scenarios, and this is way back, like in the late 1980s, when we were doing scenarios for those Los Angeles tournaments, we just kind of make up things, and they weren't even real, engagements.
Oh,
but buy your own points.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
all the good old days. Right? But then what I did is ever since we've been doing the March Madness stuff, I created a PowerPoint template, and it sounds like old school now, but a PowerPoint template of a scenario. We've never used the artwork just to avoid MMP, consideration. We just use what a lot of other people do, just the unit numbers and the name of the vehicles and stuff like that, and on the counters on the scenario sheets. But we use the same standard structure that MMP does. The same like format, what's in what place on the scenario card, and then just the time we've got better at doing it, and so I just use that structure. And then recently, the final product, we sent it down to Rick Reinish, who's the BFP art guy, and he cleans them up in a nice, pretty scenario format, and then they go to the print from there.
Have you ever tried something? Did you ever think, I want to do something different with this scenario and just try something out of the ordinary? I don't know. I've never designed scenarios, so I don't know what I would do. But
well, we've done some submissions have been ahistorical. We know we can quickly find out that they're ahistorical. And that's that's cool every once in a while to do one of those, just some interesting situation. But so what I'll do is here's a part of the scenario design that's kind of the art part, and that is you'll get the units that were there in the engagement down to some decent level of understanding. Okay, then I also research what kind of the tables of organization and equipment that those units had, so I know what kind of tanks they had and whatnot. And then then when you start putting the counters on the map and playing it out, you have to kind of massage the numbers of units and stuff like that. You can't just doesn't work just to do. Oh, okay, they had a company and a half of troops. I'm going to put a company and a half of troops in the scenario. Maybe you gotta balance it, right, so that each side has a chance to win. And so that's part of it. And then some of them, we kind of did a little bit of that in the recent thing we did this year, which was the 3-player pack. And so I did a kind of a 2 scenarios that are tied together that are about the Germans at the the furthest extent they got in the Battle of the Bulge, almost to the Meuse River. And as they got there, they ran out of gas and a whole bunch of other reasons. But the Americans countered attack from the north. But there was also a British unit that came from the side, the west, and that participated a little bit. So I kind of expanded that a little bit so that we could do a 3-player version of it. And so the British and Americans, you kind of have to massage the victory conditions so they both compete against each other.
Right.
They can't both be ganged. They're both ganged up on the Germans, but they're not. Like, let's say then this one is, they both get victory points for capturing buildings. Well, only one of them can capture the building. Okay, well, they either have to go faster or they have to. So anyway, it's interesting dynamics doing that.
Yeah, did that 3-player? Was there a recent? There's a recent 3-player pack. Is that coming out soon from?
Yeah, it's out. You can get it. Yep, you can get it from our the Kansas City group, the March Madness group. The actual company that does it is called Encircle Productions. That's the LLC we put together for it. But you can also get it from Gamers Armory or the Scenario Archive guys. You can get it. It's out. You can order it.
Yeah, that's a fairly new one, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
just out in March. Well, we didn't get out till April, but it's April, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very new. I just sent ourselves a notice about it, and I just remembered, wait, I'm supposed to talk about this 3-player pack because I like 3-player games a lot. Some people don't like having to wait the extra round for the other player to play, but I like them a lot. And Jeff and I have played a couple of them, so I will be looking forward to that pack. Or if you guys want to send one on out for us to review, we still have 3 other packs that we need to still review that we received. These 3 up here, I think we did 2 of these already, and I like to break down all the scenarios and then run through all those also in various shows. Like if we have a little extra time, I like to record a look at all the scenarios. And so I love your packs, yeah. And then another email we got was from Matt Peterson about his historic KC Fest.
Yep. So he's been setting up has a couple start and stops because of COVID, but finally getting it to happen in June. Is it June? Yeah.
It's going to be actually July 30th to August 1st. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So that's the weekend after the St. Louis tournament, ASL tournament. But yeah, so we'll be down there. We'll probably we'll be playing like the demo, advanced squad leader, and there used to be a couple other little game conventions here in town in Kansas City that were not completely focused on role playing or like Magic or something. And we would demo the games there, and we've got a couple people come in that have been interested. So throw the bait out and get somebody once in a while. So we'll be down there for that. One thing I also wanted to mention is go ahead.
Well, I just wondering, like that gaming convention does it include miniatures also, or just board games? Oh, okay. You cut out there, but so yeah, you're saying lots of miniature games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be right, and there's a ton of those guys in Leavenworth and the surrounding area. I honestly don't know how they have time to paint those things, but I guess they do. And it's cool to see it when they see that stuff. So the March Madness guys and our little group, another thing we've been working on for a few years, and it's starting to be a long time now again. We all work. It's just hard to finish it up. But we've been doing a World War I set of rules and counters, and we've done all the research, and we've got an initial set of rules out that it's an ASL And I know you guys. I know everybody that first hears that is going to go, "Well, that's ridiculous."
No, I like
but
it.
we think we have it. We think we have it. Yeah. So it was fun researching. We've got all the British weapons, the French, the Americans, the Russians, a lot of the Ottomans, the Serbian stuff. We've got all the weapons. We've done a lot of research, and we have an initial rule set, and so we're getting ready to start play testing that. And we've been having start and stop plans for this. Our original thought was, hey, let's get it out by 2014, the 100th anniversary, and then it was, hey, let's get it out by 2018, the 100th 2019, the 100th anniversary, end of the war. And now it's like, okay, well, let's try to get it out by 2023. But we're going to print counters and have the rules and do a pack like that. And then, if we get enough interest, then we'll propose it to MMP and see, if they bite. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got a ton of stuff in their pipeline too.
Sure. Yes. Everybody does. There's so much product these days, which we can't complain, because we used to complain there was nothing.
No, the benefit, and they know this. We all know this, but they get so much free work from us people who are total fanatics. I mean, the amount of money that we got for the Korean War module, I would guess it was like 1 cent an hour.
Yeah, or there might be a couple guys dumb enough to do a whole podcast promoting their products and never even get a free game from them to review on the show. Unlike our Kansas City friends who send us free product to review on the show, or our friends at Ritter Creek, or our friends,
Yeah.
Broken Ground.
Yeah.
You'll have to go to Oktoberfest and buy Chaz and Perry some drinks or something. And
yeah, it's time for us to interview them again too. But I don't know. I think they like stiffing us.
They should be buying us drinks. Come on.
Oh, well, there you go. Right, you're selling their product.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. It's okay. We don't grudge.
And we need to get Chaz. Chaz from MMP doesn't feel comfortable interviewing, I don't think. Perry's been on, I think, twice. We should get Perry again.
Okay.
And then Chaz Smith from Bounding Fire, we really liked him on too.
Yeah.
So
waiting to hear back. In fact, he was here. He was at the seat at Commander's year. We hung out with him and did some of the play testing for some of his BFP scenario stuff. Yeah, so we hung out, knowing well. Right.
What
anyway,
you want to say?
We have the next in the queue for the our March Madness stuff is we have a 10th Mountain pack coming out. We have a Korean War pack that's going to be that we just got a concept for and are starting to get scenarios for. And then we're going to try to have a 3-player scenario in every pack from now on. So everything we put out will have one of those. The reason we started that was because there would be times when we'd get together, and I say that we usually have 6 to 12 people, but that's because we only had 3 or 5. Okay, well,
now what?
Now we can pull out the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do have a different feel though, because there's an additional defensive fire phase, right? A different extra rally phase. So it's a different feel, which is fun.
Yes, but it's the same game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I often, back when I was having the PASL, Palatine Area Squad Leaders, I would play 2 opponents at once, or I would sit out at being the host of the club and then let the other guys pair up. So, it's nice to have other options available.
Yep. In some scenarios, you can semi-readily split the forces up.
Yeah. Yeah, you take that side, especially if there's 2 directions they enter. Yeah.
You ever get involved in big campaign games, or do you like to do campaigns?
In California, we tried red barricades, but the Germans, within a couple of days, they had routed the Russians, and that did not turn out well. So, but we played Hatton. So right now, I'm playing a Hatton in Flames campaign game. The only way we were able to do it was because one of the guys has one of these awesome tables that you can take the top off and put a campaign game under, and then put the top back on and play the game on top. Oh, you have one too. Awesome.
Yes,
I love that.
Mine's being produced by Wormwood Designs.
Oh.
I did their Kickstarter, so it's still being built yet. But soon, I'm hoping within a couple months, it'll be the first time. Yeah, I can do that.
Yes. Yeah. Someday.
Yeah. But the Hatton, we heard the Hatton thing is good.
Yeah. Well, it's small, and so you can imagine how tough it is to. Having designed a lot of scenarios, especially ones that have kind of varying OBs, like if you can have different types of OBs options for the players and stuff. It's tough to play test it enough to get it perfectly balanced. And so if you have red barricades, and I know they worked on a long time, and you can't think of every single crazy iteration that can happen. And with Hatton, it's only 5 or 6 days, game days long. So I can see that's they've been able to tighten it up a little bit. And plus they've had 20 some years of experience building these things.
That's correct. Yeah.
Is there any particular aspect of the game that you would change, or that you don't really like, or something that you really do like you especially love?
Well, the only thing, knowing real operations. Knowing how real operations. The only thing that I might consider changing, especially for people that units that had challenges with radios, you do some kind of command and control thing. But you know what? It's like Solitaire ASL has some, has an implementation of that. But you know what? It at some point, just like when I do analyses, at some point the complexity becomes so much that it's not of value anymore. And so in this case, could you add some command control to it? Sure, but what real greatness would that bring to it? Not much, I don't think.
I've often wondered if there's an effective way of doing fog of war better than they do, which is practically non-existent. But that would be interesting. But like you say, I don't know how you would implement that.
Is Jeff freezing?
Well, you'd have to do hip. You'd have to do hip. You'd have to do a lot of hip and trust the other player.
Yeah.
Like if he was moving somebody outside your line of sight and he was hip, he'd have to track it somehow. And, it'd be a little bit of record keeping.
There's Washington Wars miniatures game, 15. Well, I do 15 millimeter Rev War. They do have blocks of wood, and if your unit moves behind the woods, you could put down 2 blocks of wood and take the unit off the table. And then he doesn't know which one's the real one, and you're moving until he can see it again. So there's some sense of trying exactly what you're talking about, but it would get more complicated.
Well, you could, that's not actually a bad idea. Actually, it wouldn't be much more complex. If you got a unit outside of line of sight and you were able to conceal them, you could auto-generate some extra concealment markers and cause some confusion there. Yeah, like you just said with Washington's War. Yeah. And that's not much more complicated.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Just take some shots at them and have to find out where they are.
Okay.
Right. So now what I think what we got is like momentum. So there's this inertia. So to change anything basic, you can add stuff, but the basic concepts
Yeah.
are used to it. And anyway.
Yeah. Well, our time's running out a little bit here. Is there, we did talk about, let's see, the past, the present, the future. You talked about some products being made. Anything else that you'd like to add, Paul?
No, I just appreciate you guys giving me that opportunity. I love this game, and I tell people about it at work, and try to get some hooked there. And yeah, so well, I'll tell you this: there have been multiple times when I have thought the Command General Staff College could use Advanced Squad Leader as a tactics training tool easily. And yeah, for those guys that are doing tactical operations, it would be a great tool for them. We just haven't got. I mean, every once in a while, an instructor will try it over there, but it doesn't. It's anyway. We never get it stick.
Yeah. I guess that's understandable, but it's a good thought.
Well, we have been very blessed to have you come on our show, and I guess I'm being hypocritical because, like, MMP doesn't give us any free product. We don't have much to send you either, Paul. So,
oh, don't worry about that. Just doing this is a total high for me. It's really
good.
Cool.
We could send you the beanie.
They're a beanie.
Yeah, we could send you the beanie. We have an extra beanie here, still in the plastic, still fresh. Yeah, it's really been great talking to you, and we look forward to maybe seeing you. You make Kansas City area sound very attractive, and maybe Dave and I will get in the car or get on the train or get on a plane and come and visit. That would be great.
Yeah, I already spoke to my wife about this event coming up July 30th, but that's not going to fit for her and I. We have friends who moved to Kansas City, so she really wants to go out there. So next, and I know we said this before, hopefully next March Madness, but boys, St. Louis too, I haven't been to, and that's not that far, So
those guys do a good job at St. Louis.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, should we sign off then together or try?
Yeah. Thanks,
Paul,
guys. Yep. Thank you.
We're talking. Remember to roll low.
Roll low.
Rally well.
Rally well, but not when you're playing us.
That's right.
Bye-bye, everybody. Then. Bye, Paul. Thanks.
Bye, Paul. Take care.
Bye.